Anyway, did everybody read those? Are there additions or corrections to the minutes that were printed? Yes.
I erroneously said that Jana was already the president of Saroga.
Okay.
Gail's
Well,
gonna fix them.
I think that's just a formality anyway. I don't think anybody else is going to jump up and volunteer. So I think you're safe. If there are no additions or corrections, they will stand as printed. Treasurer's report. There you go.
Okay, the Treasurer's report for January 2018. Our operating fund receipts were $402.85. Our operating fund expenses was $134.60. So we made $268.25. Our assets and funds at the close of business for January 2018, which includes our checking account, our money market account, our petty cash, and our quarter assets, is a total of $26,783.73. If anybody wants a copy of the treasurer's report, they're available. And I have one more thing to say. According to the bylaws of this club, I need to turn in to the secretary and also to the person dealing with the directory a list of our dues paid for 2018. If you don't know your status of dues paid, I have a list in the back and you can look and see where you stand. That's it.
Everybody please pay their dues today. Old business. Is there any old business that we haven't taken care of? There's a bunch of semi-old business that I'll just do under new business. Is there anything?
No particular business. Has anyone been in touch with Valerie?
I paid her dues today because I thought, I want her to stay involved. I was in touch with her before Christmas, but not since. But, she has several surgeries coming. So I will, since I paid her dues today, I will call her, but I haven't. Anything else? New business. We have several things coming up. We have there is a bus tour that Garden Council is doing to Bastani Plant Farm, and it's going to be $30 if you bring your lunch and $40 if we supply lunch, and we will supply water. It's going to be a lot of fun. We will go down. Bastani opens for business on April the 12th through June the 2nd. So that first week is going to be so busy, it would not be good time for a bus tour. So we are looking at the second week after the 12th, and the bus will hold $56, first come, first serve. So if any of you all are interested, kind of pencil that in. I don't have an exact date, but I will next week, and we'll get an email out. The festival is in high gear. We are moving the festival, it's always in this area, down behind the Color Garden, and they're going to close that street. We'll have food vendors, and they got an 80-foot tent for the people that are exhibiting the 10-foot people, and then the 12-foot people, 20-foot exhibitors will be under the shade trees down there. It's going to be real pretty. And we're hoping that this festival grows, so you all keep that in mind. And I guess under Garden Council, I could talk about the plant sale, but the plant sale will be coming up the 20-something last weekend in April. And that is Garden Council's main function for money. So if everybody here would help with a plant, it certainly would be helpful. Orchid Digest,
Johnny, do they have, is there a date for festival in Parkland?
May 19th. And we're hoping for 50 vendors.
Is that the week after our show?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
here.
And that other garden sale is the week after the Tulsa show?
April, when's the, who is doing Soroga? Carolyn, are you doing Soroga? When is that, the Soroga meeting
The Soroga Show.
show?
The Soroga Show is the 21st, 22nd of April.
You're right, it
So
is.
the garden sale is the next.
The weekend.
No, the garden sale is the same weekend.
The same.
Oh, is it?
It's the 21st. The sale, the plant sale is the 21st.
Oh, that's right, the plant sale is, and that's gonna be real difficult for me, guys. So my plan is, there's lots of volunteers for that sale, is to get it set up and going and leave for Tulsa. So, I will need your plants the week prior. I've got that trailer now, and I've got somebody to bring all those plants over here. So I really will need for that to happen, and next year, we will see that we don't cross those dates. That was my fault. I did that. So, we will try to arrange it so that they're not quite so close together.
No ODC report.
No, oh, that was no Orchid Digest report, and Howard's not here for the AOS report. For those of you that don't know, Howard had problems, has had a little surgery. Oh, you've got a report, okay.
I thought I told you.
If you did, I didn't hear you.
I have a report for the judging yesterday. There were 5 judges and a guest there. We judged in Winfield, Kansas. And we had 14 plants to look at of all different varieties. Anytime you guys want to go and watch, you can. It's fun. We would meet every third Saturday of every month, regardless. We awarded 5 plants yesterday. We awarded a Dendrobium speciosum, Chlorothalus, Anaqualis, a Tolumnia, Papapedlium, and Myoanthus. So you see there's all kinds of varieties that we look at, and it's just a fun time. So that's it.
I used to do that every now and then when they were here, go to those meetings. It was always very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but we don't meet here anymore. So,
Garden Council, I've sort of spoken about Garden Council, all right, we're busy getting ready for a plant sale and the bus tour and the festival in the park. So it's gonna take some people and some volunteers for that, so I'm hoping Garden Council doesn't have any men, guys. I need all the help I can get for that. Are there other announcements? I started to tell you that Howard had a little surgical problem, so maybe we ought to send a card. He had what did he have? Howard, he had open heart surgery?
no, Howard has a pacemaker now.
Pacemaker now.
So
So,
he's recuperating.
are there announcements?
Well, we have this Soroga show. Are you coming up with that?
That would be now.
Be ready for that?
Ready.
Okay, the question was the Soroga show. It's coming up at Tulsa, and it's going to be at their garden center on Peoria. It's going to be the 21st and 22nd of April. And the registration for that is $45. What you get with that registration are 2 lectures and access to the hospitality room. The lectures are going to be by Thomas Veranda from the Smithsonian Gardens, which is going to be great. He's worked with orchids at the New York Botanical Garden, the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, and with the extensive private collection at the Green Tree Estate in Long Island. So that's going to be a really good lecture. That is the program speaker. The vendors are going to be Birds Botanicals, the Orchid Connection, that's Mayor Moses, New World Orchids, Sandstone Orchids, Timbuktu Orchids, Charles Hess, and Nat's Orchids. So there's going to be plenty of orchids there to buy. There's going to be a dinner on Saturday night. The banquet is $50. And that's going to be at a restaurant down in downtown Tulsa. So, registration forms are on the back of the table. If you are interested in going, pick up one of these and send it to the treasurer of Tulsa so that they know to expect you. Any questions? Any answers?
She's very efficient about going ahead and getting everything taken care of. I've already paid mine. So she's already sat there and processed the checks, so sitting on them, and so, you know, you're set.
Good to know. Okay, and we are going to put in an exhibit for OOS, I assume. Is that correct? So our meeting is the weekend before this show. So think about bringing your orchids that you want to send for the exhibit to our meeting.
Are there any other announcements or anything that needs to be discussed? Yes.
Question. Will we have a regular club meeting the month of our show?
No. That is our meeting. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to you for our program.
Oh, Janita, we need to talk about our show here. real quick.
I'm sorry, I said announcements.
Oh, well, anyway, okay, so our show here, just an update. Mayor Moses is no longer, for the time being, going to be able to come to our shows. He's had a job change. And so we will have, as it stands right now, 3 vendors. Brian has worked really hard to try to find some other people to come, but there are just too many shows in our region in the spring. There are just scads of shows. Everybody's changed fall shows to spring shows. So what that really means is we really need to sell a lot of plant raffle tickets and meet bushes to find stuff to bring to our silent auction and make big things on our silent auction to make up that $300 vendor difference for our show. So we really need everybody to help with that. Save your AOS and Orchid Digest magazines that you don't want. Start bringing them because we give those away at the door for people coming in until they're exhausted. You can start bringing them anytime you'd like. Candy will need 1 or 2 people to help her put in the OOS exhibit. I'm sure she's going to want the plants to her by 1 p.m. on Friday, as she has done last year, with your completed plant tags, okay? We also, this is the sign-up list, and take a look. If you haven't signed up, please sign up for something. We really need help, people to sign up to sit as people come in through the door to sell plant raffle tickets. That's going to become really important. We still need help with hospitality, putting food out and cleaning up. We need 2 more clerks for Saturday. And I think that's it for the show. Carolyn already talked about our Soroga, our OOS exhibit in Soroga. Does anybody have any questions about our show?
Yes.
I just have a comment. What's the possibility of us setting up a booth and just donating plants for the show and selling them?
We can do that, but the problem with that is we have to get a taxpayer ID number. We have to be able to do credit card exchanges, and there's a fee on that. And we're already having enough trouble just having people sign up for the welcome table and stuff.
And I don't think it's a good idea for us to compete with our vendors.
I mean, we can sell plant media and pots and stuff like that, but the problem is someone has to man it. Someone has to complete the tax bill, someone has to get the taxpayer ID. It's a huge deal, because we've, kind of talked about that in the past, here and there, and we've all said,
In the future, if we can't get vendors, that's what we'll do. We'll
Yeah,
sell.
just to comment on the vendor, I did send an email to Sarah and Sanborn and mentioned about Amir's not going to make it to our show, so ask them to stock, increase their stock, bring it over. So at least that will add, and if we need to change the pattern of the vendor, at least for this show, just to spread around, make it fuller. And it is certain, I think because part of Amir, one reason or another, he had a right to refuse to do the show, but he's doing the Soroga. So meaning that either he exhausted at that point or decided not to attend. And it's a disappointment because for us, it's a small show, but it was quite fun. And it's, with all the vendors we are so accustomed to. And I did contact Peter Lin, and he simply just said no. He's selling up on eBay, what happened. So we'll find one more.
And the thing of it is too, is that it may get to the point where, okay, this is all the vendors we have, we may wind up only having 2 vendors, for example, in the future. But then what we may have to do is change our strategy on the show to do fundraising. In other words, some of the monies that we earn through the year, that is used to help pay for having our show. We don't expect to make a gain on the show, that the show itself may have a loss. But
There were years and years and years where we did not even break even.
Yeah. So we can do fundraising and stuff like that through the year to help.
We are pretty healthy right now.
Yeah, and for the deficit of $300, I think, personally, I probably can cut that in half if, once I get everything set up and sales at shows. And, it's only money. 150 get it, to compensate for that loss. But sometimes they just want it just bottom line, want to bring up for that.
Remind of our show date.
11th, 12th, well, the show to the public is the 12th and the 13th of May.
Right.
Our setup's the 11th. I just had one more thing. We talked about this last time because of our donations, Oklahoma Orchid Society's donation to conservation. We're the top donor in the Soroka region. And so for those of you, there's Orchid Gummy, where they take a special orchid, and this guy at the Smithsonian makes a 3D orchid gummy. And so ours is the water spider orchid. It was just done, and it shows that we're the sponsor of this orchid gummy. The guy at the Smithsonian sent us 250 copies of this. So I'm going to put them over there, so feel free to take one. If you don't intend on trying to put it together, don't take one. But they'll be over here, and help yourselves to one. If you have a grandchild or something, take one.
And maybe we can use some at the show, and maybe we can,
So,
they sell for $5.
Charles Hess will be selling these, probably at Tulsa as well as our shows. But anyway, this is for our hard work, so take a copy.
Okay, we are really gonna need help on these welcoming tables, and somehow it looks to me like our membership has dwindled a little bit. We're gonna need lots of help on hospitality. 2 people can't do it. So please keep us in mind. We have several orchids to auction off.
We do. We have some orchids to auction off. This first one is Vandaceous type. It's a Christiara Luang Prang, which is an Aretes crossed with an Aspercentum crossed with a Vanda. And this came from Frank, I don't remember his last name. They gave the club all these orchids, all these Vandas, and as they're coming into bloom, I'm bringing them in. We're down to just a few now. This one has 2 plants. It has a plant on it. So you get 2 orchids for the price of 1. As you can see, it's in bloom. And
It's very
beautiful.
healthy.
And we're going to start the auction out at $25. Who'll give me $25?
25.
We've got 25 over here. Who'll give me 30? Anybody want it for 30? If not, it's going to go for 25. 30 here, 35. Anybody for 35 right over here? 40. 40 over in the back, 45. Anybody for 45? $45? 45, 45 over here. $50. We've got 45, we've got 50 at the back, $55. We've got 50 at the back, $55. We've got 50 going once, 50 going twice. Sold for $50.
Thank you, Alan. That was a nice event.
Thank you, Alan. It's a beautiful orchid. Okay. Okay. So we've got dendrobium. This was donated by Gabriel. It's a Red Emperor Prince. And we'll start the bidding off on this at $15. So give me $15 for this dendrobium. We've got 15 here, who'll give me 20? We've got 20 at the back, 25. We've got 25 over here, 30. $30, yeah, 35. We've got $30, 35. $30 going once, 30 going twice. Sold the Burl Gamble.
That's a nice number.
All right, what have we got here?
It's a Zygonesia.
Lycopedum.
Yeah.
I don't see a name on it.
No, it has no tag. Sorry.
What?
It had no tax.
But it's Zygonesia bluebirds, I think.
Bluebird?
Yeah, it's Zygonesia.
Lycopedum, bluebird, that's all we've got on it. Okay. So we'll start this at $10. $10 for Zygopendum. It smells very nice. We've got $10 down here at the back. $15 for Zygopendum. We've got 15 right here on the side. $20. 20 for Zygopendum. 15 going once. 15 going twice. Sold. Mike Friday for 15.
Thank you, Mike.
There's one more. Okay. This is, what is this? Another Zygopenis?
No,
What is
I
this?
think it's not.
It's a Bella era Howard dream. Is that looks like a Howard dream? Yeah. Yeah, it's a Bella era.
Belliara?
Yeah.
A Belliara.
I think it's Howard String. It does not
It
have
has
a
no
tag.
tag in it. Bellara, I guess you call it.
Yeah,
Bellara.
yeah.
Who donated that?
Gabriel.
3 plants?
Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe.
Yes,
We
Gabriel.
appreciate it.
Gabriel donated all these plants.
Is that 3 different genus crossed?
3 different genuses crossed on this.
We don't know because it doesn't have a tag. You
It's a-
think it
it's a-
is
it's a
Howard
generic.
String. You have to look it up.
We'll start this off at $10. He'll give me $10 for this Bellara. We've got $10 at the back, he'll give me 15. We've got 15 over here, he'll give me 20. We've got $15 once, 15 twice, sold to Jana for 15.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to turn the program over to you.
Let's just move this out of the way. I'm going to call Ryan up front, and Burl up front, and Lowell up front. Lowell up front, and Bill. There you are. Come on, guys. We're going to use the round table here. I think I think there'll be a bit more of a camaraderie feeling. So, guys, let me tell you here. Here you go.
I guess we have to face audience. We've done this before.
We may not need this. I'm gonna sit out here. Okay. I asked Brian if he would do a program, because I'm gonna have, just for variety, ask Lowell to do the repotting in June. Just for variety. He does a great job. But I wanted, you wanna say something?
I just need to remind me at the end of the meeting.
In the meeting. I asked Brian several weeks ago, Brian, would you do a program for us? And he said, well, let me think about it, I'm pretty busy. I mean, he does show on the week he works, and he does show at the farmer's market. And he said, and that's, this weekend is the Chinese New Year celebrations. I want to learn something real quickly. You're from Vietnam.
Correct.
I thought only Chinese celebrate. Well, I said I'm here to learn something. Would you please tell us how many countries observe the Chinese New Year?
Well, it's a 2,000-year history, so let me cut it back to about 30 seconds. How's that?
That's fine.
Well, the Chinese and the Vietnamese share the same culture. Lunar New Year there are two different calendars. Our normal calendar, then there's a lunar calendar, which is falling a little bit off, about a month and a half after our regular calendar. Anyway, that is the traditional Chinese and Vietnamese New Year's. For the past 3 days, I've been celebrating like crazy, the usual. And I have one big dinner the night before, one party yesterday, and a party I was just about an hour ago at my in-laws' house, and I was eating, hurry up, do all the fun stuff, and then hurry, I gotta go. Another word is traditionally that is very common for Vietnamese. And I am Chinese full blood. However, like my grandparents migrated from China to Vietnam in the 30s. And so growing up there, my grandpa couldn't speak Vietnamese, he spoke all Chinese. And so was my father-in-law, who lives in America. It just, that's the way it is. No need to say anything different. And then, so we grow up in Vietnam as Chinese descent. So so I'm speaking Chinese and Vietnamese and now English. So it's all come together, one great culture all together. So.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to learn something about it. Anyway, he said, something wrong here. Is this,
Too loud?
It's too loud.
talk into it.
All right, so.
Is the green light on?
Yeah, that's good.
Fine.
Right.
I said, so I called him at our last meeting. I said, can you do a program? He said, well, I don't have time with everything going on, but he said, yeah. He said, how about a panel discussion? I said, yeah. Even the Bonsai Club, once a year, we put 3 or 4 people together that's more experienced, and people ask questions, and each 3 of us will give our opinion, okay? I was talking to Donna Nelson, who's the vice president of the Kansas Orchid Society a couple weeks ago, and she says, we don't have a green growers program like you, we only have one program. And she says, and I want to start a green growers program. Keith, do you have any, where do you get ideas? And I was telling her the webinars, PowerPoint, twisting people's elbows to do a program. And I said, we're going to do a panel discussion to answer just basic questions. She goes, oh, we've done that for 2 years. She says, we were desperate, so I came up with the idea, or we did, to have a panel discussion. People could ask anything they wanted. And she says, it was such a success. We do it every year, just like we do repotting, pest control, and disease control. She says, we love it. And I said, well, okay. So I had Gabe put a note in the newsletter to think of questions, okay? Because if this goes really well, next year we may have a panel discussion that scans both the green growers and our main program. Depends. And Brian said, I don't have time to do a program, why don't we just 3 other people? So he suggested these 4 gentlemen, and I think we should take advantage of this. Amongst the 4 of them, we have a total of 154 years of experience sitting right there. Okay? Now, I thought to myself, a lot of people won't think of questions. So of course, you know, I'm the one who always asks a bunch of questions. But I talk enough at these meetings. Now I have a list of 7 questions, and I'm going to start off with the first question, then I'm going to shut up. No, if you all have questions you've thought about, I'm not going to ask another question unless it goes dead in here. These gentlemen agreed, and I think we should take advantage of it. Now, you may ask, I'll have a microphone for, I'll sit over here. If you talk loud, you don't need a microphone. If you have a soft voice, just raise your hand and I'll, you know, like Donnie does, I'll hand you the microphone. You can ask, you can say, hey guys, anyone, does anyone know blah, 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 blah? Or you can say, Bill, I want to ask you blah, 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 blah. Or you can say, I want to know what all 4 of you think the answer to this question is. So you get 4 opinions at one time. You can direct your questions the way you wish. Keep in mind that when you study orchids, you notice you get a variety of answers and opinions, because it all depends on your environment. People have greenhouses, some people grow in their house, and like me, I have a solarium, which is sort of in between. So there's a lot to learn. These 4 gentlemen all have freestanding greenhouses, right? Yeah. So they're going to have a lot of experience growing in Oklahoma. So, you have a microphone, and you guys, let's say someone asks you a question, you give an answer, and let's say, Burl, you go, oh, I want to add to that. So hand that microphone to him. We're all friends here, we get along. You awake? No. So, okay. Now, who has thought of some questions before you came here? Good deal. Rachel, Ron? Well, I have some just in case. I'm going to start off with the first question, so I need to know this. Do any of you guys collect rainwater for your orchids? You collect rainwater. Does it come off your roof down the downspout? Okay. We haven't had any rain in a long time. And we get a lot of dust in the air. And we got a ½ inch. Was it last night? Night before. And I went out, looked, and it was filled up, but I couldn't see the bottom because I guess 3 months of dust in the air stuck to the shingles, and it ran down, and there's minerals in it, there's dust. Now, the 5-gallon buckets I use, I can see the bottom of the 5-gallon buckets, but there's slight residue in there from my roof. We're supposed to get rain tonight. Should I drain all that water, and now that the roof has been cleaned off, get pure water? Or do you think that the slight minerals that were washed off, do you think they're okay to use my orchids?
I have a 1,500-gallon tank buried in the floor of my greenhouse, and 2 100-gallon tubs to catch the rainwater from the roof of the greenhouse. I probably, this has been going on for a number of years, I probably have about knee-deep mud in the bottom of that 1,500-gallon tank. You know, that has a lot of minerals in it.
I know.
And I've fertilized very, very lightly every watering, probably a 100th of what the fertilizer companies recommend. But one of these days, I'm probably going to have a septic tank emptying. People come out and and clean out my tank. But it's been going on now for about 25 years, so maybe I'll get, as I'm fond of saying, maybe that tank will see me out.
Anybody else, any guys want to add to that?
I have a friend down in Wichita Falls, Roy Hammond, and he collects rainwater for his. And he had trouble about a year and a half ago. He was telling me that he had the same situation that you had. And he started, just watering his plants with that water. He doesn't have anywhere near the volume that Burl has, but he noticed that his plants were, not liking something or other. And he looked at his water, and it was horrible. And he said it was black, but it was coming off his roof, a tar roof and stuff like that. And so he went ahead and emptied it, and started using the city water for the time until it started raining more.
You said he had a tar roof?
Yeah, just a regular asphalt, shingle roof, and it had a bunch of, he said he looked in there, and he could see a whole bunch of debris, he said it was black.
Did you test it? Did it RO test it?
Well, no, it's not black, it's just slightly foggy.
Do you have a TDS meter?
No, I don't.
$20. Oh, you borrow mine.
I should get one.
My roof is polycarbonate, so I don't have the shingle problem.
Are we good with the rainwater subject?
You use just Oklahoma City tap water?
Yeah, you probably heard me mention before, I use water straight out from the supply. For the south side towards the airport, I think those water came from Lake Stanley Draper. So last time I had a test, it's within range, it's not a perfect water. And your orchids will tell you if they're not happy. Once you can see the growth being stunned or not, not doing well. Yeah. So a lot of, and also a lot of whitish powder deposit on your leaves. That would be something to concern if beginning, and also using regular water from the supply. You need to rinse more, not flush them, and that's helped a lot. Low. You're using well water. On the subject of water, maybe Lo will elaborate on how well water is doing.
Well, I do TDS of my water, and it's about 180 and stays that way. It doesn't change much up and down. And 180, they don't mind that. And I fertilize very lightly. I don't want the salts to get too high.
But my well water runs 550 out of the town.
That's a little high.
That's pretty heavy.
550 would be a little high.
Yeah, and some orchids tolerate a little bit more heavier salt than other. So one thing I'm surely suggest for all of us who grow orchid is a 1 or 100. You at least one time have your water tested out from your faucet.
The TDS meters are so cheap anymore that you really splurge and get a TDS meter so that you know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just guessing and you don't really care.
Right.
The truth is, if you won't spend $20 to check your water, and then you can check it over and over and over, make sure it doesn't change, you just don't care.
Well, I never bought one because I've been using rainwater for the last 3 years, so I didn't buy a TDS. And, well, I'll be darned. We learned from Dr. Woodson several years ago. She said, I think it was she, that said, you want your TDS to be below 350. My memory serves 350, 350. So 180 is okay. One advantage to rainwater is I used to always do a 1/4 teaspoon per gallon. with rainwater, I learned from someone here, you can increase your fertilizer a little bit because you don't have any salt. So I use a half teaspoon per gallon of fertilizer now. Okay, whose turn is it? Edith? Edith?
No, are you, me? As another old geezer, no offense, I'm interested in your first orchid experience. Tell us about it, and in what year did that occur? And no dinosaur stories for us.
All right, we'll start with this end, we'll work our way through.
First orchid we bought from a show here in town that the society put on. It was a cattleya. Took it home and kept checking it until we killed it. That's where it all started.
How long ago was that?
Oh, 30 years, 25 years,
1995.
95. That's my counting.
My first, I can't remember exactly it was my first, but I remember distinctively I ordered mail order from Houseman. It was a Valley Houseman. It was a beautiful candy stripe in bloom sent over to the house. So I set it on top of TV, enjoy the flower, and I keep watering that sucker. I keep watering it until one day, annually, all the leaves just fell right in front of the TV, come collapse, come collapse down, and the flower stand is still on. Because it's amazing, and the flower is still there. You know how the orchids have a very resilient way to stay on for many reasons. So learn from that. See, here is one thing I always, when I talk to either those who have very experience in growing, and those new, especially a lot of new growers, or people who are new to the hobby and love flowers so much, and I just say simply, if you are loving this flower and like to grow them, if your first plant or second plant fail on you, don't try to be so discouraging. And I always use a different example. For instance, in Christmas time, you get poinsettia, you enjoy the flower and you toss them out without a hesitation or a word of bye-bye. So here are an orchids that you bought and you love, you wanted to grow them, and then it died on you for one reason or another. Just don't be so discouraging or feel bad, and because a lot of times when we are the people who teach people how to grow them or sell one, or they get one from somebody, and if they lost a plant, they're furious. They get upset, and more than one reason. We just have to offer them a second thought and say, there's a lot more orchids out there. You just have to kind of learn the right way to do it, and once you learn it, you apply your technique and feel better. So that's how I bounce back and just make another 15-second stories after my that's back in the 80s, after all my fish died in my 55 gallons aquarium, drank all the water out and leave the whole gravel and everything and start to put orchids in it. And it grew like crazy because the 55 aquarium is pretty good size and it's enclosure, so it becomes somewhat of a growing environment with a grow lights on it. So that would be something that have a long-term effect for me, because I finally realized that there are some different conditions that you can grow outside of one condition that you experience. Low? Laurel?
In 1977, I built a small 8 by 10 foot lean-to greenhouse for my wife's African violets and ferns, and invited a neighbor and friend who grew orchids to come out and see the greenhouse, and he brought a little cat in bloom, and I was hooked. Pretty soon, my wife didn't have space for orchid, for African violets or ferns. So I had to increase the size of the greenhouse. And finally I had a 10 by 20 foot area, and that got too small. And then I built a 18 by 22 foot freestanding greenhouse. And then I moved to built a new home and have a 24 by 36 foot greenhouse. It keeps me out of the pool hall, repotting and watering and throwing out dead orchids. There's always something being born and something dying in my greenhouse.
Well, in probably 1960 or 1961, after reading the comic strip Brenda Starr, I convinced my mother that I could take a little bit of the money that we had been putting aside from the sale of the calf each year from my cow that we hand milked. And I could order some orchids from the Orchid a Month Club from the William Kirsch Orchid Company in Hawaii. And I think it was $12.95. And so we did that, and if I remember correctly, it was very similar to an Oncidium, was it not cucullatum, but yeah, something like that, yeah. And then a lady that we knew, she would be considered maybe a great aunt. We didn't know it, but she raised Cattleya orchids. And she heard that I was doing that, and she gave me a plant. And it was like a Cattleya Monsii on steroids. Gorgeous, pink. It grew every different direction there was. But the flowers were probably 8 inches across and just gorgeous. And I killed it. She gave me another one. And I killed it. And she gave me another one. And she was growing it in peat moss. And I killed it. And I had been reading, and she gave me another one. And I yanked it out of the peat moss and put it in bark. And I put it under a mulberry tree at the front yard and watered it with tank water. And it died down to 2 leaves, and then it started growing. And I grew that thing for about 15 years. And it was just wonderful. And Brenda Starr was a red-headed, green-eyed newspaper reporter that could never get in touch with her lover, Basil St. John. I never did get the redhead, but I got Jackie, which worked out just fine because now we both have a greenhouse of orchids.
Seen online, and I see this one right here, it's in a vase. The vase that I have is one that I was keeping a betta fish in, and the betta fish is long gone by now, but it looks like one of the large brandy glasses, and the opening is about this big, but I feel like just setting it on top, maybe it'll pinch the leaves, and so I'm wondering if that's something that you guys have dealt with, or if there's something, like if I should try to pad the leaves from the rim of the vase, or if you think that it'll be just fine.
Let me start from one end, because growing vanda can be subjective, so.
And the type of it is it's called the type is Bangkok Sunset. I don't know how to pronounce the
the Bangkok Sunset is a hybrid name,
Right.
but in general, it's a vanda plant, which is look somewhat like this vanda and the one that we auctioned earlier. So they're in the vanda family. So let me start from one end and say work it this way. So each one of us will offer you a point.
My wife's the one who grows vandas in our household, and they're such rugged plants, I can't imagine that you're really going to damage the leaves a lot.
One thing I've seen across, of course, Facebooks and web, and say that a lot of vanda they grow in glass vase. It kind of puzzled me just a little bit because we know that if the vanda they require a lot of sun. So if you grow in a bright light area, and if you really grow your vanda in that glass vase, I don't know how even practical, because the sun, when it's heat up, you're gonna get that thing gonna be so hot. Besides the vanda roots, they like to breathe. They like to the humidity and the water get them wet, and then they have to get dry. Although the glass vase doesn't have a whole lot of medium in it, it could be something. But I never tried, so I'm not sure. But it won't hurt to try. But still something new, even for myself. Burl.
I don't do well with vandas. I think because I didn't water them enough. And I've started draping Spanish moss, the bromeliad, around the roots, and holds a lot more humidity close to the roots, more water really. I'm hoping that will be better for my vandas, and I only have a few, 5 or 6.
I had a whole bunch of them at one time, and then I think I had the same problem. I didn't water them enough. I just saw these at a grocery store in Wichita Falls this past week, and I had never seen anything like that. I said, what in the world are they doing? And this is from what they call it, Silver Vase Incorporated in Homestead, Florida. And they were $37.50 a piece. And the lady said, there was one of them that I particularly wanted because of the flower, and she said, if you come back after Valentine's Day, I'll give you a good price. Well, I bought them for $5.99. And it's the whole rainbow of these things, but they do not grow them in this. You can tell by the way the things are in here that they got like a 3-inch pot that they grow them in, and then they twisted them around and forced the roots in there. I'll take it out of there and water it normally. But they say fill it half full of water, leave it that way for 30 minutes, and then drain it and water it once a week. And I don't think you can do that with these things and do any good. But I just thought I'd bring that up here and show you what somebody else is doing as far as trying to sell orchids.
We were talking about that coming up here, and I said, that may sound good in Florida, they haven't been in our humidity lately, so. Yeah.
You find salespeople to get real creative on suggestions they can get.
As I was just saying, because there are two different aspects of having orchids. One of them is the actual growing side of it. The other aspect is actually displaying your flower. So we, as a consumer, we will see when you go to any market now, you see dye orchids or any kind. So we as a consumer, we love what we see, but then after we see that, bring it home, we have to dissect it and say, okay, is this the right way, or is this just a marketing so that we can enjoy the flower? Remember, if you see some of the way how even I arrange orchids in a pot with all the fixing, we all say, it is. I put orchids together with some really nice fancy feature and send to a customer home, but then that's a good way to present your flower. Remember, to enjoy the flower, but after that, yank that thing out, and if you want to grow it, you have to change the culture of what I presented to you at the moment when you get it. It's that kind of two sides of that. So, yeah, I spoke a lot about that because some of our customers, and let me lead into all you need is just to add ice. Let me get straight to that. How many of you actually use ice cube for your orchids when it's in bloom? Show of hand. How many actually use ice while they're not in bloom and grow? Please do not. And here's, for me, very simple from a general term of speaking is the ice cube. One thing about the ice cube is we know it's a compressed of water that when it melts, it will drip. And even if you water your plant with the ice cube, you put 2 or 4 cubes, it drips and it goes straight down, it doesn't spread. So your orchids, your phalaenopsis said that you would be told use ice cube. All of your roots will not be watered. It's just the drip of wherever it's laying on. And so I experience at home. I say, let's ice cube this baby. So and I can see the rest of the pot is dry. It's just that a portion of wherever the water drip down is wet. So your roots eventually will suffer because there are no water. It's just and so one thing, the misconception about it for a lot of folks out there in the general world is that because when we even with a phalaenopsis or a cattleya, they can withstand without water for a month, no problem. Yeah, and adding the ice cube is just one way just to keep them hydrated for a small portion, but it's not good. So we already talked about that, right? Okay, next, please.
Can I say something about the vandas?
Yes.
I'm growing my vandas in vases. And the first one that I got was a basket stylus, and it's doing well. I probably need to water more. The little basket that is growing in, it's on the very edge on the top, and it's already full of roots. The whole vase is full of roots. And it has put 6 blooming spikes that have not been successfully blooming, but the last one, it's already putting flower buds, and they're growing, and it's already growing another blooming spike, and the other one hasn't finished yet. So because I'm watering more often and I'm fertilizing more often as well, just half strength, but they're doing fine. The other ones need a lot more light than the basket because they all have different needs of light and water and fertilizer. But that one is doing fine, so I don't see why it wouldn't work on a vase. That one probably not, like they said, that one probably grew somewhere other than the vase. But on my experience, I've been growing them like that, and I've seen other people growing them in vases, and they're blooming.
But you don't have water standing all the time in the vase, do you?
No, I fill it up all the way to the base of the plant, and I leave it there sometimes overnight in the summertime because the water gets too cold in the winter. But if it's right now, I'm just putting in like half an hour, like every other day. That's what I'm doing, and just empty the whole thing and wait a little bit more and empty whatever water was left. And that's what I'm doing.
Very interesting. Yeah, and perhaps that would be a practical way for some of you folks have 1 or 2 plants that is grown by the seal. So it would be, we would love to see new technique that probably would work for, and then when you have it in bloom, that your plan is established in that, bring it into show and tell so we can all learn and share, about it. Next.
I was just going to say about The vase would probably be better for people to grow indoors. Because see, in my greenhouse, I use a sprayer for the roots. We can't do that inside your house.
True.
So the vase